In this unit, we're going to focus a lot on concentration, and there's various ways to represent concentration, but in general, the concentration of a solution is the amount of solute present in a given quantity of solvent or solution. It's a way to represent the different amounts. So you have the solute, and for the solute, it's usually a solid or a liquid, and you might know the mass of it. And then you could also calculate the moles of that solute using the molar mass. The solvent, in our case, is going to be a liquid like water, or maybe ethanol or some other organic solvent. You might be able to know the mass of the solvent and therefore the moles of the solvent or the volume of the solvent. Those would be common ways to measure it. And then when you put them together, the solution will have its own description, its own properties. You could have the mass of the solution, which is made up of the mass of the two components. You could have the total moles of the solution, which is the moles of solute plus the moles of solvent. You could have the volume of the solution, and those aren't necessarily additive. When you add a solute to a solvent, it may not change volume, or it might change the volume significantly where you have to consider it. And then you could have the density of the solution, and that's a special property of just the solution. So we are going to work on concentration units of percent by mass, mole fraction, molarity, and molality. Be sure not to mix up the capital M for molarity with an R and the lowercase m for molality with an L. All right, so for these types of questions, you might want to consider a template. If you consider a solution and draw a diagram, you can separate the solute and solvent components and see which pieces you can determine from the information you have. So with the solution, you might have the mass of the solution that you get from the solute and the solvent mass, or if you have the total mass of solution, you might be able to figure out one of the components. You could have total moles and volume of the solution, and then physically separate the information and organize it this way. The solute, you can know the mass or the moles, and for the solvent, you can know the mass, moles, or volume, typically.